brought you all together to talk about this in your own words. And we want kind of an extended conversation about what's going on. So we're going to first just start with you introducing yourselves and then getting into your story with what happened. So Eve, we're going to have you go first.
It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but because of the carjackings, I had been looking automatically down the alley one way, then down the other. And I don't know where they came from. It was so quick. I think they came from between buildings because they weren't in the alley. And the next thing I know, I had 2 young men with guns at me telling me to get out of the car. Was just reaching to lock the door whenever that happened, because you just put the key in and then you do this, and they were there as soon as I started the car up. I actually thought about not getting out of the car, so that I think they told me several times to get out of the car, and I decided that probably that was a good idea. I did look at the guns several times, trying to decide if I thought they were real or not, and I was not certain. They let me go. I walked away and they took off. It was very quick. It was really quick. I mean, they had to run. They had to run from between buildings, because I actually looked, both ways in the alley. Even as I was walking, I looked. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I wasn't too worried. That neighborhood had been, up until the last couple of years, had been a wonderful place where I was at. We didn't have hardly any crime. And so I went to the building. They took, the keys they took were for the building I had come out of. So I went to the building next door, which I also own. And I was so mad because I couldn't get back in that building. And so I had to rekey that building. It was New Year's Eve. It was December 30th, so it was the day before New Year's Eve, and I couldn't get any locksmith to come, and I was so paranoid about that building. I slept in that building hallway all night because I was afraid somebody would come back before I could get rekeyed. I didn't want something to happen to anyone in the building.
And Becky, moving on to you, you were carjacked as well.
Carjacked August 24th, 2020, 9:30 in the morning. Target in Burnsville. Basically, I was gonna go inside a Target, and I just checked my phone briefly to check the time. I had an appointment at 10 a.m. Halfway in, halfway out of my car comes a person, and I have a gun to my head. And from there, he hopped in the vehicle. We struggled a little bit. I was surprised that this was happening, so I mean, we had a little struggle, and he took off with my car, my belongings, purse. Luckily I had my phone, and that he did not end up with. So.
And you ended up with being bruised. There was a struggle, as you mentioned.
I had a bruise on my arm. Then when the car was recovered a couple days later, heroin and meth were used in my vehicle, and it was pretty trashed, I guess you could say. A lot of my belongings are gone, and I'm out about $4,000, $5,000 just with replacing locks, damage to the vehicle, personal belongings.
I went to the gas station that was closest to work at 7:30 in the morning, filled my tank, decided I needed a coffee and a sandwich before I got to work, went inside, got the items, and upon leaving, I had an item in each hand and immediately noticed I was being followed from the door to my car, pumped full, sitting next to the pump, and I was quickly realizing this person's right on my behind, and I could see their silhouette in the back of my car's window. And at that point, I was maybe 10 feet from the door, and I just took the biggest strides I could, grabbed the door handle, and dove into my car without hurting myself and slammed the door. But at that time, looked back and seen this person's hand, this older male, was reaching for the door handle. Like, was he going to carjack me? What was he doing? Why are you here? And I was very upset and said, you know, get away from my car and took off, and nobody was in front of me at the time, but it was very upsetting because I got to work and I was visibly like shaken by the whole ordeal. And I called it in and said that this is what happened at the gas station, gave the location, and the officer said that they would get back to me. They needed to confirm with the gas station and pull footage, but at this time there wasn't much that they could do because nothing actually happened to me or the vehicle, but it was more of a, I was concerned that this happened at this time in the morning at an extremely busy location.
You talk about you're going into your job and you're already on high alert because of all of the things that you've seen at that job.
Yeah, so from my job, I'm able to see other locations that we manage, and on a nightly basis, there are cars broken into, and the vehicles that they use to get to these locations all come back as stolen vehicles from previous carjackings, or just it's been left out at night. And we have another location down the road. They happened to take one of the vehicles that was previous at other lot, went and jumped a girl, took her purse, she ran inside, then you see they click the fob and steal her car as she's running back out, and you just feel so sick, like this wasn't even me, but this is happening to everybody out there. It's really disgusting.
I know you've recorded video too of just people checking locks constantly, and you said it's gotten so bad that they're not even locking their doors because they're so tired of windows being broken.
Yep, they've been advised, let's just bring everything inside. Just leave your doors unlocked, because if they pull the handle and it's open, they're gonna search. If they're looking for something and you happen to have even a tissue on the seat, maybe covering something, they'll bust the window, but what's the point if they can get in easily, save yourself some money, because some of the people have been out a couple $1,000s having multiple windows replaced on their vehicles or items stolen.
Wow. And Dennis, we did not meet under the best circumstances when we were doing a police ride along, but it was your catalytic converter that was taken from your car.
Right. And when I was ready to go to work, and my car wasn't there, and I had no reason why. I was surprised and shocked, and I called the police, and they came and did a report, and about 8 or 9 hours later I got a call from the previous owner that had the car, that they had found the car in St. Paul. And me and my friend went out there. The catalytic converter was taken off the bottom, and they popped the ignition, so I couldn't start the car with the key. They tried to break into the window, which the door was unlocked, so they left a vacuum in there, they left a Sawzall in there. It was a very long day, to say the least. I missed work, I just got the piece for it, and it's like $300-400, and it's just very unfortunate.
Eve, you said in that moment you were calm, but you feel upset now? Mad now.
I'm still mad. There was a boulder wall. I couldn't go forward. There was a car parked next to me. And then to this side, do you know the metal poles you see so that you can't cut through a parking lot? That was up against my truck. And they were there, right there, because I was just getting ready to lock the door when they pulled the door open and told me to get out. So I don't know how easily I couldn't go forward for sure. I still keep thinking I should have tried to get away. And I'm just mad. I'm just really, but that's, the kind of person I am, Italian. But I'm mad. And I know that if I saw them again, even though they had masks on, these were young kids. I know that I would recognize them. Although when the police officer asked me if I could recognize them, he said, you really can't if they had masks on. I said, I guess not 100%, but I think I could, because they looked like they were almost identical twins. I don't see anything changing. It seems like every day I read more. And so every time I see something else happen, I just get more mad, and I get more frustrated because I don't like where it's going. You want to see this stop. You think, well, somebody's got to figure out what's going on and why is this happening now? And it wasn't happening 3 years ago. This neighborhood was really good. What happened from then to now? You know, and I can think of a lot of different things, you know, because this was in Potterman Park, right by the park. And I think, you know, that people talk about the riots, which were horrible. I'm not going to say they weren't horrible, but I think the crime actually got worse in the neighborhood, not on Lake Street. Okay, in the side streets and where the houses are. I think the crime got worse because of the encampment. Because there were homeless people that were allowed to be in the park, but then there was criminals that actually came and set up, you know, tents that they were selling drugs out of and prostitution. They had actually put like a number outside their tent. And they came from other parts of town, and they brought customers from and I wonder how much, and I noticed that in a lot of the places where you're having the carjackings, where there wasn't crime before, okay, there was close to where there was encampments. I don't know if that's the reason. I don't know if it's the lockdowns. The kids weren't in school. I mean, I've thought of all these different things.
But it doesn't make you feel any better.
No, it doesn't. But you know, but every time I read about a carjacking, my mind starts going again, like, oh, what, why? Doesn't make sense. You know, and every time I read, I mean, I get mad all over again. And even now, every time I go in my car, I get mad. Truck, I get mad. You know, and I just feel like my truck is dirty. Like it's not my truck anymore, and it's of course my truck, but I'm just it has affected me. I'm not as I'm very cautious, but I was cautious before, so I'm just pretty angry and frustrated, and I just wish somebody would figure out what is going on. To lose $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 like that, so they could take a ride for a car from South Minneapolis to North Minneapolis, you know.
I don't even want to be in an enclosed room. Loud noises startle me. Being approached in a parking lot, I can't even think of having somebody behind me anymore. Just when I leave the stores, I'm constantly observing the whole parking lot just to see, am I, you know, gonna get preyed on again?
I see you nodding, Natalie. Yeah.
Yep. It's definitely anxiety. So for me, like, I have not gone back to that gas station because I just feel it is kind of a target location because access to 35 is right there. You turn out and you're on 35. And so I've been trying to be more cautious about getting gas when I'm near my house. And then where I park specifically at the gas station, I won't go to the ends. I feel like it's too easy if someone were to even pull up next to you if they had an accomplice or whatever. I want to make sure that I am seen like I was last time, but maybe just less busy of a location and really stay observant of the fact that, like, people are all around you and what they're doing, because I think that might have been partly how I was able to get away so quickly, is realizing that there is someone behind me following me to the car. Like, you need to move. So that's what I did, and it kind of does freak you out on going anywhere now.
Why do you want to even come forward, tell your story, and what do you hope happens here?
That mindset is not a healthy mindset for people to live in a community. Is it going to be where everybody knows somebody that's got carjacked or got mugged or had their phone stolen or got hit over the head for their phone or whatever? I just think I think that something has to be done. I'm hoping that more police officers will be helpful. I know that police come after the crime, but I think I miss the patrolling we used to see that we don't have anymore because they're shorthanded. I'm thinking that could help if they were literally just, you know, driving up and down the streets like it used to be before the last few years. I think that I'm not satisfied with what the politicians have put forth to stop this. I don't think they've acted enough. I don't think they've done enough, and I don't think they've done anything fast enough. I just don't want to see this continue. I mean, who wants to live in a city if it continues like this?
Luckily, my crime happened in Dakota County, so they're a little bit more stricter, I guess, the sentences. But my issue is, I think minimum, you have a gun, you assault somebody, you take a car, minimum 10-year sentence, maybe even 15. I mean, they need to be stricter sentences.
It's gotten to the point where there is not enough manpower from the police, and that's known because there's been a lot of issues lately in the news, and it's hard to promote extra people to be out there when there's a bit of a fear of this situation, but then there's also a bit of the how is this going to be funded, how is this going to be handled, and in a way it's gotten to the point where do we have to get back to when Crime Watch neighborhood style was a huge thing. People were actually out in groups and patrolling your neighborhood and walking around and reporting any little thing. So you kind of remember the cartoons and some of the TV shows, they're peeping through the blinds. You know, do we have to take things into our own hands and start kind of really being our own little police force in a way to help protect everybody out there? So it's kind of like a self-awareness, but yet you have to be aware of what's happening around you to others. So if say you're at Target and you see someone walking to their car and someone approaches them really quick, you know, don't just turn your head away. Make sure you kind of watch the situation, because if that person can't call for help right away and they're being held at gunpoint and you can see it, you're in the same parking lot, it's the middle of the day, you have quicker access to a phone to start getting the ball going on, you know, potentially saving someone's life and stopping this from going any further.
Thank you for being willing to share your stories and speak up.